there an attack on education? Yes. That is why September the 9th was proclaimed the International Day to Protect Education from Attack by a unanimous announcement, a unanimous resolution of the UN General Assembly during its 74th session in May 2020. Now in its fourth year, the observance serves to amplify advocacy and galvanize action for the protection of education and sustainable peace for all. How is that going? Well, in 2022, there were more than 3,000 attacks on education, and that's a 17% increase compared to the previous year. According to the Global Coalition to Protect Education from Attack, quoted by Michelle Anglade, director at Save the Children, Geneva, the military use of school increased in 2022 with over 500 reported cases. Overall, more than 6,000 students and educators were either killed, injured, abducted, arrested, or harmed during these attacks, an increase as well of 20% compared to 2021. Fast forward to 2014, the abduction of girls from a school in the northern part of Nigeria, the Chibok girls. This made headlines all over the world. It's almost 10 years now, and the attack on education in Nigeria continues. Save the Children alone recorded more than 70 attacks on schools in Nigeria during 2014 to 2022. Close to 1,700 students were kidnapped from schools in Nigeria, and over 180 school children were killed or injured during these attacks. This is just one country, a scenario which unfortunately plays out in many countries around the world. Sometimes, even the threat of attack is enough to have schools closed, to have students no longer going to school, or to have teachers no longer willing to teach because of fears for their lives. As UN Secretary General posits, we cannot always stop conflicts, but what we can ensure is that the children and young people living through these crises receive the education support they need. The question remains, how? Let's explore options now on one slot. The former Dean, Faculty of Management Sciences, and former HOD Accounting, Nile University of Nigeria, Professor Ofili Ugwudioha, joins us. Thank you very much for giving us your time on one slot.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I am happy to be with you on this topical issue bordering on the lives of our children.
I mean, it's one subject that everyone is concerned about. Lay it out for us. How serious is this problem? Contextualize what an attack on education look like and what does it involve?
Yeah, like I said, we should first of all understand that education is the bedrock of economic development of any nation, and of course the entire world economy. If the bedrock of development is destroyed, it all means the economic development is being destroyed indirectly. The attacks on children is something very, very unacceptable to every human being. You look at the number of children that is out of school as at today is around 244 million. And these 244 million that are out of school not because they don't want to go to school. Sometimes it could be fear. It could also be because they have been able to witness some of their colleagues being kidnapped, as in the case of Nigeria, being kidnapped and never come back. And some of them witnessed also some of their colleagues being killed. And in the case of America and other parts of the Western world, gun shooting terrifies and terrorizes children. Some children die out of gun shooting. Some of them got injured. And kids are afraid of this type of horrible situation. So if you look at the number of out-of-school children in sub-Saharan Africa, is around 98 million children. Then you go down to Asia, you see around 85 million children out of school. Yes, I could agree that some of these things may come as a result of poverty, but some of them come as a result of the horror, the unsafe situation in the school environment. And children are scared from being in the school. I call on the authority all the time to take this thing more seriously.
You've given a number of reasons why schools are, I mean, some children and even adults don't go to school. But there is one major one I'd like you to speak on. Some schools have been targeted for recruitment in terrorist groups. This is something that is, people say it's factual, where the school is being attacked for, you know, maybe young boys to be taking into the ranks and also girls to work or to get into forced marriages for fighters. This is something that happens even here in Nigeria. I want to find out if there's maybe some action that has happened in recent time that's given some hope that this conduct has reduced a bit with the efforts that's been put into trying to protect schools from attack.
Oh, well, thank you very much for bringing this on board. It is very sad, very, very sad to see children being kidnapped from school. It is also much more worrisome that government have not been able to take adequate measure to prevent this, and have not also been able to, apart from taking measure to prevent, the government have not been able to track the offenders. Because I have started to believe in one statement of one of the Nigerian leaders, Major General Sani Abacha, that if insurgency continues for more than 48 hours, there is a suspicion that either government is involved or government does not want to do anything. I cannot believe that somebody will use a load of, bring a truck to the school and start loading children, and after loading, get away. The government didn't do it, the security agency didn't do anything to track them, to catch them, or even to trace them where they have taken the children to. I do not believe that government have taken any serious action on this.
Well, what kind of action do you expect that they would take? And is there any reflection, since we had the case of the Chibok girls, has there been a reflection or a reduction in the frequency? We get to hear these stories of students or pupils being attacked at schools.
The measure is to make sure that those people are tracked, because they are within Nigeria and they move within our space. They move the children on a vehicle and on the road before they even go to the bush. And even if they are in the bush belongs to Nigeria, and you should be able to trace them and track them. You have police, you have military, you have Air Force, and you have everything. And you have the intelligence. If you cannot get them when they are operating, you can get them through intelligence and unveil them and get them punished. And if an offender is punished for one particular offense, others may not commit the same offense because they will feel that they will be caught and they will be punished. But when somebody comes and perpetrates evil act and go away and nothing happens to him, there is likelihood that another person will equally do the same because he will feel that nothing will happen. And that
Okay,
is
I think we've been able to establish one thing, and that's the veracity of the claims that schools are under, education actually generally is under attack. So can you paint us a picture of how and why it is so crucial for access and continuity of education to remain protected even during armed conflict?
No, come again.
I'm asking you to educate us on the importance of why access to education is crucial, the continuity of it, and to protect education even during armed conflict.
Okay. Like I said, that education is the bedrock of economic development. You cannot build a house without foundation. The foundation of any economy is education, because it is through education that you get all other things that are required to run the economy. So if the children are prevented from being in the school, you are rather destroying the economic development indirectly. Then, directly, you are putting fear on education, on the lecturers or teachers. You are putting fear on the children from going to school. So in that order, you have tampered with a section or a sector of an economy, because education is a very vital sector of the economy. Apart from being a building block, it is a good and vital sector of an economy. Some countries use education as one of their major earners of foreign exchange. But in Nigeria, it means nothing because nobody cares about what happens to anybody. And I appeal to the current government in Nigeria because it affects us more than all others, than even other people around us. You can hear Burkina Faso, you can hear Mali, their own is minor compared to what is happening in Nigeria.
All right,
appeal to the current government to look into the security of children generally, and again, in particular, the children in the school. Because without this, you cannot go on campaign and tell Nigerians or tell the world that that the youth is the future of your country, when you cannot allow the youth to grow.
All right, still talking about the relevance and importance attached to protecting education. How do you think we can apply, I mean, there are laws, international humanitarian law is there. How can we use it to protect education from further attacks?
Well, aside from the laws, international laws, there is enough laws in Nigeria, in Nigerian constitution, to track and punish any offender. To track and punish any offender. Because kidnapping is a very serious offense in any part of the world. And it is in our own. Because what the UN Secretary General is saying is an appeal. It cannot be an enforcement. Enforcement comes into the country that you appeal to. So the enforcement must come in Nigeria using our constitution to be able to prevent criminality. Like I said earlier, there is a law that will be able to jail offenders, kidnappers, gun carriers, because children are afraid of gun. Once you come with a gun in the school and they cut away any of their colleagues, the rest may even refuse to go to school again. And the incoming one, we always hear the story that this school, I will not, let me stay back. I don't want to die. And sometimes the parent will also say, okay, why should I send my child to the school? These are some of the reasons why you have so many.
True. There is no real formula. There is actually no real formula for success, and we cannot truly stop conflicts from arising. But there are some lessons that we would have learned over the years in providing education, even in conflict. You are in the sector. Even these places like Borno and, Kaduna, Plateau, Benue, where we have headers, farmers clashes. These things disrupt education. But there are lessons that has been learned in trying to provide education in even in conflict. I'd like you to speak on that and maybe how we can amplify those efforts since, we cannot deal without conflict in today's world.
Okay, let me come in. Like I said, that the United Nations is giving us a sort of advice, which is a sort of moral suasion. But if you look at our own situation here in Nigeria, you see that almost all the schools, particularly the public schools, are so porous that somebody can come in and go out. Some of them do not even have walls barricading the school from the road or from the bush. And there's always a provision for perimeter fencing in any public utility. School is even more important because you are talking about human beings, you are talking about materials, you are talking about equipment. So those areas should be guarded, first of all, by perimeter fences. And if it's guarded by perimeter fence, you know that the entrance and exit is just one and the other. So it becomes difficult for somebody just to jump in and do anything he wants to do. That's one aspect. Then another aspect is that the law should take its course. The law enforcement agents should also be able to do their jobs. There's always police, army, all these people on the road. But what they do is to harass innocent citizens. Criminals will come and go free. So Chibok girls were kidnapped and taken away on Nigerian road. Dapchi girls were kidnapped from school with trucks and taken away on Nigerian roads. Where are the security agencies? These are the two arms. One, perimeter fence. Secondly, security agencies doing their job. If these two things are done, then that tendency of anybody going to school to kidnap may reduce.
So, okay.
Or even stop, because you know that you will be caught if you do this. Then thirdly, there is always an intelligence group, either in the police or the army or DSS or whatever, to unveil some of these hidden problems.
All right. In the interest of time, sir, we have so much work to do. That is obvious. I want you to speak in commemoration of the International Day for the Protection of Education from Attack. What would be the one key message for our viewer that you would like to share for them to take away about protecting education?
Well, first of all, I would like to commend the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, on his speech, pointing out the danger of our school, pointing out that education is being snatched from the world because of the terror and horror unleashed on children in the school. That's a good one. I also would like to appeal to nations, particularly countries in sub-Saharan Africa, where kidnapping, killing, destruction of education material is on the high. Government is supposed to take care of all these areas. If a president is sworn in to protect, first of all, lives and property in the nation. And if he has a minister of education is also sworn in to protect and guard and make sure that education progresses in the nation.
All right, Prof.
If this is not done, it all means we are not fulfilling the oath we have taken to govern the nation.
I do hope the sense of urgency will be transmitted. Thank you very much, Professor Ofili Ugwudioha, for speaking with us.
Thank you very much.